All right, let's jump right in. There is a huge wave building right now, and it's something pretty incredible. We're seeing more and more young people, even kids, launching their own businesses. Today, we're going to take a look at the world of the kidpreneur. But first, think back for a minute. What was your very first hustle? Come on, you know you had one. Were you the kid with the lemonade stand on the corner? Or maybe you were selling friendship bracelets in the schoolyard? That little spark, that entrepreneurial itch? Well, that's exactly where this whole story begins. And that's really all a kidpreneur is. It's just a young person who has a cool idea and, actually does something with it. They turn that creative thought into a real, actual business. It's about making that leap from what if to here it is. Okay, but how do you actually do that? How do you go from a daydream to a real venture? Well, the first step, the absolute most important step in any business, is counting the costs. You've probably heard this a million times, but it's true for a reason. To make money, you first have to spend a little money. It's just the fundamental rule of the game. So, what do we mean by business costs? It's basically all the money you have to shell out just to get your product or service off the ground. A great way to think about it is like a shopping list. Everything you need to put in your cart to get started. So for that lemonade stand, it's the lemons, the sugar, the cups, maybe even that cool picture and the poster board for your big sign. And these costs, they're not all the same. They really break down into two main types. On one hand, you've got your fixed costs. These are the things you buy once and you're done, like a really cool reusable sign for your stand. That price stays the same. But then you have your variable costs. These are the ones that change depending on how well you're doing. The more lemonade you sell, the more lemons and sugar you've got to buy. See the difference? Getting this down is absolutely crucial for planning. So you've figured out your costs. You've got your list. You're ready to roll, right? Well, is that really the only thing standing between your awesome idea and a successful business? Not quite. Because once you've counted all the lemons and cups, you have to look up and face the real world. So let's zoom out from the lemonade stand for a minute and look at the bigger picture and the wider world of youth business. And let's be real, it can be tough out there. I mean, trying to get funding when you're young, that can feel like a massive wall. And finding a mentor, someone who's actually been there and done that, can be almost impossible. And that's not even getting into the psychological pressure, especially if the people around you, maybe even your friends, just don't get what you're trying to build. So what is the secret weapon against all of these hurdles? Well, the research points to one thing over and over again: family. As this quote points out, that family support system, it's a critical enabler. When your family has your back and believes in your idea, everything changes. It is an absolute game changer. And with that support in place, this next generation is tearing up the old rulebook. They're writing a completely new one. So let's take a look at this new playbook for the future of youth business. As we look ahead, the big trend we're seeing isn't just more young entrepreneurs, it's smarter ones. They're building businesses that are lean, super flexible, and designed for the world we live in today. We're seeing 4 huge trends bubble up that are kind of a direct answer to all those challenges we just talked about. First, they're being super pragmatic, focusing on realistic ideas that don't need a boatload of cash to start. Then, they're getting niche-focused. Instead of trying to be everything to everyone, they're targeting a very specific group. And this is key because it lets them operate remotely, using online tools to run the whole thing from their bedroom. And what this all leads to is the rise of the solopreneur, one person building and running an entire business all by themselves. Okay, we've talked about costs and challenges and all these new trends, but why does any of this actually matter? What is the real prize at the end of the day? Because look, this is about so much more than just making a few bucks. The money is nice, for sure, but it's just a side effect. The real win here is building a foundation of skills that will serve you for your entire life. And what are those skills? Things like financial literacy, truly understanding how money works. Critical thinking, so you can solve really tough problems. A deep sense of responsibility. And maybe the most important one of all, resilience. The guts to fail, pick yourself back up, and go at it again. These are the skills that build successful adults, not just successful businesses. Which really brings us to one final question. The most important question isn't about profit margins or revenue. It's about purpose. With this new playbook and this incredible set of skills, what are the big, meaningful problems that this next generation of entrepreneurs is going to solve for all of us?